be super mindful of everyone's time because I will tell you, I understand how the evenings go. I have a 4-year-old and an 11-year-old. So luckily right now, my 4-year-old is sleeping because she is so exhausted from school. So I look forward to Elflandia at the lower school campus and seeing the video that will be done tomorrow. But there's been a lot of preparation for that. But welcome and good evening. I'm so happy that you all joined me tonight. I have on the call with me my wonderful and amazing team, our lower school principal, Monica Vigna, and our assistant principal at the lower school, Ms. Caceres. At our upper school, we have Dr. Dennis, our principal, and David Rowe, who is our assistant principal. So they are sitting with us as well. As we go through the evening, please, if you have any questions, go ahead and put that in the chat, and we'll definitely take some time afterwards to answer questions. And no worries as well, after we're done, I'll stick around and we could also chit chat, ask questions, find out what you're doing for the holiday break, anything like that, okay? So again, welcome. And the ultimate goal and purpose for this evening is to talk about what has been going on at Sagemont for our first semester and how we are moving forward together. So with that being said, go through. For those who joined us a little bit later in the school year, I am happy and excited to say that we are celebrating 25 years of excellence. And I have been so happy to have been a part of this journey for 17 of those years. So there's lots in store, and we're going to touch upon a little bit of the excitement that's coming up at the end of the year. Last week, our lower school campus and upper school had an amazing homecoming week and Battle of the Grades. So for those of you who came out, thank you. I think I counted around 60 parents, our upper school and lower school parents, who came out to the event in the gym. So thank you so much for supporting us for that day. So what I want to talk about is what's new and what's next. We have been so happy to have gone through this wonderful, wonderful journey recently. So for those of you who started with us at the beginning of the school year, one of the things that you know and you heard us say many times on both campuses was that we are going through our reaccreditation journey. And it was one of those things when we mentioned it to parents, they would go, oh my goodness, that time, you know, I think everyone kind of grimaces when they hear that word, but that wasn't the case for us. To be quite honest, we look at it as a really amazing opportunity to celebrate the amazing things that's happening at Sagemont and to acknowledge our strengths, and at the same time to also go, where are our areas of continuous improvement? So that's the journey that we've been on, and we've been so happy to have opened our doors. It was all done on Zoom. This is a new world we're living in, to open our world, our classrooms for parents, our students, and sharing the feedback, sharing evidence of what's been happening at Sagemont in the past few years and our direction moving forward. So that's what we also want to share with you this evening. So one of the things as we launch into this journey was really looking at our vision moving forward. What does Sagemont stand for? And what does that mission statement mean for us? So as we reflected back on our old mission statement, we thoroughly agreed that it did not identify the amazing things that were happening. And we truly had to look at ourselves and go, let's define and really acknowledge those amazing strengths that we already have as a school and look at how we're going to build upon that. So that really led us into looking at a new mission statement. So for those of you who have engaged with me in the last few head of school newsletters, thank you very much. It's been that slow unveiling of here's what's to come. And so the last two that went out to you and that took that we started to unveil two elements of our new mission statement, and those and two core components were social responsibility and entrepreneurship. And so we're going to talk about what that means for us in our direction forward. So I want you to just take a moment um, and take your time to read our new mission statement. And then we're going to talk about it. So I'll pause for a few seconds. All righty. So our new mission statement is that the Sagemont School inspires academic excellence through intellectual exploration, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Students are encouraged to take responsible risks and develop a deep understanding of social responsibility as agents, active agents of change. And so as we look at that, all of those elements came from somewhere. They were already embedded in what we were doing. But as we started to look forward and move ahead, and that's the ultimate goal of any journey, is to really take a stand back and say, what do we want for our students at the end of the day? And this was core for us. When we talk about academic excellence, for 25 years, we have been around, and that has been a core component of what we've been doing. But there's been a lot of refresh, I will tell you, this school year, which we're going to dive into, and I will tell you, and I'll share something in a little bit with you, which was kind of that walking away image that our Cognia accreditors, our leads, walked away with, because at the end of the day, they looked at Sagemont and they said, "Oh my gosh, there's some amazing things here." And I would love to be back in a year, 2 years to see this continue to develop. And that's the school that we have, and that's the school that we continue to grow and evolve. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, and what does that mean as we define Sagemont's movement forward? We've always talked about this piece, which is real world application. It does not matter what classroom we're in, real world application, hands-on and discovery are core components of what we do. And so when we look at the word entrepreneurship, there are elements that crosses everything that we do. And there's also going to be very intentional pieces as we move forward that you'll see this develop from our preschool through our 12th grade. So I am excited to take this journey, and I am excited to have you on it with us, because when we think of entrepreneurship and our students and how that translates into the classroom, that means that we're talking about creativity. We're talking about taking risks. We're identifying problems. So we're not just looking at a solution. We're not just researching something, but we're identifying a problem, whether that be in our theater class or in our robotics class or in our entrepreneurship class or in our 4th grade social studies class. That's a core component. And its application, it's looking at mentors being a part of that journey with us, which has always been a core component. And how is it relevant? If it is not relevant for our kids, if it has no meaning, then really they are not learning. So that entrepreneurship part goes right back to that piece of just problem solving, identifying a problem, a need or a want in our community, which completely stems right into that social responsibility piece that we see right there in our mission statements. When we talk about kids who are active agents of change, and an active word is very, very important. We do not want our kids to be bystanders to what is happening around them, what's happening in their classrooms, or what's happening in the world. We want them to question. We want them to dive deeper. And that is the experience that we are moving forward with, and we continue to immerse our kids in at Sagemont. So look out for the continuous series coming out for our Head of School newsletter as we continue to dive into that and look at what that means for your child, whether they're in 1st grade or they're in 12th grade, because those skills translate across every single subject area. And then we look at intentional pieces that will be added into our curriculum. Now, one of the things that we hold dear to our hearts is our learning outcomes. And a big piece, as we talk about everything, one of the things that I want to remind you of is everything that we do, there is a connection. There's a connection to the whole child of developing that. So, for many of you, as you walk in, whether it's at the upper school campus or our lower school campus, it is very prominent, our learning outcomes, because what we're doing is we're educating that whole child. Cognitive skills, interpersonal skills, self-awareness skills. And when we take it back to our mission statement, that all ties back into active agents of change. That ties right back into innovators, that ties right back into academic excellence and entrepreneurs. And so we are always looking to provide opportunities for our kids to take responsible risk, to be creative, to understand that if you make a mistake, by all means, that doesn't mean that we give up, we continue. That's what entrepreneurs do. We take risks, we are creative, we look at a need in our community, and we move forward with that. So those are some of the big pieces that you're going to continue to see in the curriculum as we move forward. Now, this is core 4. For us, this is something that we live, breathe every day, but probably something I will say that we might not have fully introduced to you as parents. And so that's why I have it so prominent. Again, another piece that connects the high quality of instructional practice that's happening across both campuses. So for those of you who are at the upper school campus, you probably see it in Dr. Dennis's weekly curriculum newsletter that she's been sending out. And for my 5th grade parents, I sent it out to you. And so you're going to see this a lot more. This is what we live by with our education team. This is what we live by with the practices that we have at Sagemont. And we want to be very transparent in sharing that with you to look at that full picture of what instruction looks like at Sagemont. And it doesn't mean that it's one thing. This all interconnects. So our instructional practices really focus on project-based learning. It focuses on differentiation. It focuses on monitoring where our kids are, and if they need additional support, that we're there for them. And if they need to be challenged, that we're going to push them to the next level. And so that's what you're going to continuously see. And the rigor has to be there. Bottom line, and one of the things, and I thank all of my parents who have hopped on to my Tuesday meetings. I thank you for the survey feedbacks that you have provided to both of our campus leaders, because I will tell you, we really look at everything you say. Your voice truly does matter to us. And we always want to make sure that we're communicating what's happening in our classrooms, because sometimes we might not always communicate everything that's happening and the depth to which it's happening. So definitely look out for more components of that. If you hop onto my Tuesday Zoom last week, you'll know that some of the things that we talked about for our lower school campus in terms of understanding the depth of our new curriculum. We were very excited about that for the first time ever, we actually have a curriculum that spans from our lower school campus all the way through 12th grade. And there's more alignment across the board. So that's an amazing piece for us where we can work together as a team. Upper school transition our kids seamlessly because again, we're looking at a certain level of rigor and preparing them for that. The other pieces that are core components are learning mindsets for our students and personalized learning environment. I tell you, that is an important factor for me as a parent, so I know it's an important piece for you with the environment that we have. And when I share with you the Cognia information, all of these pieces were things that were just glaring in a really amazing and positive way, that it was truly remarkable, having gone through several accreditation journeys, over the years in my time at Sagemont. This was probably one of the most incredible and amazing experience. And we also want to communicate and share with you what's happening behind the scenes in terms of not just this year, but our movement forward. So One of the things that has been wonderful, and I thank you, as we look back at survey data from last year, as I mentioned, part of this meeting is to talk about your voice, what you're telling us, and also from our accrediting body, what they came in, what they saw, and what they're sharing with us as well in terms of best practices. So one of the pieces that was core for us was to not be on an island, and for too often, I'll tell you, and I know some of you on here, I saw the many names that pop up, and for my new parents, sometimes as a unit, as a school, we sometimes have felt like we were on an island, but that is no longer the case. This year has been amazing for us. One of the feedback from a lot of you last year, outside of communication, was really understanding the professional development that was happening, or asking for more professional development for our team. And that is happening in a tremendous way this year, where we are no longer just a Sagemont team providing that, but we have a full education backing us. So as we launched into this year, and this whole process started even from last year, looking at common language for effective teaching for all of our teachers, all the way from ECE through 12th grade. So there's a common language of what we are looking for. And that common language doesn't just span just at Sagemont, it spans all of our school and our spring network. So what does that mean for you? As we look back at the survey data, we also knew that it was important for you to say, you know what, Monica, Aisha, Barbie, David, Mel, tell us a little bit more about the practices that are happening. And so from this LEAP framework, working with our education team, there's an ongoing series of professional development that is happening in a tremendous way, to the point that we are now aligned with a full education team that actually comes out starting, they've been coming out so far once a month, providing professional development for our teachers, which is amazing. And starting in January, that's going to be twice a month, because we know how important it is for our teachers to continue to grow and evolve. They might be the most amazing teachers right now, but guess what? We all grow and we all evolve, and that's what we're continuing to do as a school. And there were multiple pieces that we had to look at, because I will tell you, one of the things that I sit with, especially at the start of the school year, was, in talking with our leadership team, with our counselors, especially identifying the needs of the kids. Because as much as we can have the most amazing professional development happening, the evaluation being in the classroom, great instructional practices, guess what? The student is that core piece. And if we don't have them, and if we don't have their attention, guess what? They're not learning. And so I know one of the things that you definitely saw a lot of, which we were so excited about, is to really involve our students more this year in the planning of what's happening on campus, and giving them a voice in whether it was starting a new club or a new event, or bringing cultural events to Sagemont. Because at the end of the day, when I say it all connects, it truly does. And if we go back to our learning outcomes, if we go back to our mission statement, it's just not one piece of the child that we're educating. It is the whole child. And what that simply means is that that social emotional piece is essential, truly essential to what we're doing with the kids. Because if they're not engaged with us, if they're not feeling connected, whether it is connected to us as a community, or connected to their teachers, or connected to the subject, well, guess what? They're not learning. And so we really had to, especially having our kids being out last year, and the year before, and having a really off 2 years for them emotionally, that was a big piece that we had to think about when we came back in. And so as I highlight this tree, it has so many things going on, and it goes right back to our core. And our core, our focuses on our philosophy and our learning outcomes. And what that simply means is that when we talk about, hey, our kids do mindfulness in the morning. Well, what does that mean? What benefit does that even have or is worth to them? Or we say, hey, we have students who got together as a community and share their culture, or had a hobby and shared that and are getting other kids involved. What does that mean for their growth in terms of learning? And it's a lot. So what I want to highlight, and this piece, I touched base with our team at the upper school campus today, and I said this I had to write down because I certainly did not want to even miss one important benefit of social emotional, and how that connects to the learning and that academic growth. And that social emotional piece that you're seeing, and you're seeing so much of this semester, what it does is that number one benefit is that it increases academic success. And what studies have shown is that performance increases when our students feel heard, when they feel respected, they're more confident in their abilities, and they focus more on learning. So if you've been wondering, hey, you've done, and I've heard it from the kids, they go, oh my gosh, this year there's so much going on school spirit wise, and that is truly intentional. The academic piece is intentional. Our mission statement is intentional. The social emotional piece is truly intentional. It is not just happening it's just not by happenstance. Um, Other benefits of all these things going on and how it translates back to the classroom is that it increases self-awareness and confidence. And we've definitely seen that. It increases empathy. All of that ties right back into our learning outcomes, ties back into our mission statement of being agents of change and being social responsible individual. It improves relationship building skills, and it decreases emotional stress, which, believe you me, we've seen a lot of this year. And we've definitely seen how the kids have improved academically because of all of these pieces coming together. And I know one of the things that I hear parents ask me, because we do our Tuesday Zoom, which our leaders hop on occasionally, is that it encourages positive social behavior. And that is the honest to goodness truth. With all of these things that have been happening, it is directly tied into the less that we've had less behavioral issues at Sagemont. And so it is truly directly tied into that behavior as well as the academic success of our kids. So those are some of the things, the amazing things that have been happening on campus. An influx of professional development, influx of going into the classroom and looking at professional practices, not just with our Sagemont eyes, but with eyes from the outside, whether that was from our spring education team, or really from Cognia as of recently. And so, I'm going to share with you some of the takeaways for us as a school with our recent Cognia review. So before I even share their take on Sagemont, I want to first share with you the purpose and the role of an engagement team coming into Sagemont. It is something that happens every 5 years, and through that process, there's an ongoing school improvement plan happening. So it's not just a matter of looking at what's going to happen and planning for the next 5 years. It's planning for every single day at Sagemont, and that's a really big takeaway for us and our team. This is, our first year as our leadership team, all of us working together. And so building that team of what that looks like of a continuous growth. And so the role of having Cognia come in, that outside eye, is really to get first-hand information to evaluate Sagemont's performance. And it was something we gladly welcome, and we're excited to be a part of. And they invited several stakeholder groups that included our students, that included people from our education department, that included school operations, and very importantly, included you as well, our parents, our teachers, to provide feedback of what is working for you at Sagemont and what you'd like to see improve upon. So we thank you for your feedback and thank you for being part of that journey. So through that journey, we had 71 stakeholders that were interviewed. And we had at the same time, the last time we were accredited as one school, but this time around we had to do it as three. Our early education program, K through 5 and 6 through 12. And you might go, whew, that was a whirlwind. It absolutely was a whirlwind, but of the most amazing kind, to have some great takeaways. And so I'm going to pause for a moment. And this Wordle that is shared here, this came directly from our creditors. This came from our outside eye, looking at Sagemont, looking at the evidence, what our kids had to say, what you had to say, our teachers, and based on the concrete evidence of what we're doing, this was their takeaway. So I just want to pause for a moment so you can read it. As you continue to read, I want to just share with you some of the big takeaways. So as we looked at Sagemont, there are three areas that our accrediting body focused on. That was our leadership capacity, our learning capacity, and our resource capacity. That's outlined here. And no worries, I will share this document with you. It'll be coming out so you can even dive further into it. But one of the things that I'd like to start off with is the leadership capacity. Walking away and going through this journey, what was shared with us, and sometimes it doesn't even need to be shared with us. We know where we need to continue to grow and continue to evolve, and we also recognize some amazing strengths as well. And we also recognize things that are emerging, that are developing for us. And so there were some really great takeaways. So when we look at our leadership capacity, one of the big takeaways for us was that it was really focused on personalized learning. It was focused on professional development that was starting and increasing in an amazing way that our accrediting bodies really had not seen before. We were going from being, like I said, an island of doing a lot of our professional development to now having amazing outside eyes with us along the journey, coming in and working with our teachers. And we're so appreciative that that was seen, that development is there, and that translates directly into what your kids are getting into the classroom in that increased rigor on both campuses. One of the things that I also that goes into this leadership capacity, and I want to go back to survey feedback that we've received from you as well. A big piece from last year's survey, and we also as leaders had to stand back and go, what do you need from us to have a better understanding, understanding of the foundation and what's building for your child here at Sagemont? So what you shared with us is that you needed more. And that was the feedback from last year. And we really took that to heart. And so I want to mention right now some of the things that are happening, because I don't want you to miss any of the communication that's going out or what's going to be coming to you. So one of the key pieces for us was making sure you have a better understanding of the curriculum, details of that, the content, the standards. So at our lower school campus, we started out the year with weekly newsletter, something that we had many years ago, but we'd walked away from. But you told us, you said, you know what, we need to get back to that place because I need to know on an ongoing basis what's happening, especially now when you're not in the classrooms as much and you're not in the school environment as much as you were. And so we started that at the lower school campus. And through our Tuesday sessions together, and for my new parents or for my parents who haven't hopped on to my Tuesday meetings, I say, please do. It's a really great time for us to share, for me to listen to your voice, to know what you need from us as our leaders, and also also need from our faculty to have a better understanding of the foundations that are being built for your child. So from that, our lower school, from those Tuesday meetings, you said, you know what? Thank you very much for those wonderful weekly newsletter, but I want more. I want to know the standards. I want to know what happened in a deeper, more meaningful way in each classroom. And we did that. So you should be seeing a lot more of that, which we love, and it's fantastic. With that being said, we continue to listen and we continue to want to know what would make this a better experience for you as a parent to walk away and really have a solid understanding of what is going on, the rigor for your child. And really to have a big picture as well. And so just to follow up with our lower school campus, expect that you're going to be getting a lot more information second semester. One of the things that we talked about on one of those Tuesday calls was that we want that solid curriculum guide where I have a full picture, the novels that are being read, the standards that are being covered, what the content is, and have that big picture, not just a week by week. And that's going to be coming to you very, very soon. So again, thank you for sharing your voice. And so those are some of the new communication pieces that you should be seeing. So I don't want you to miss out on that at the lower school campus. As we look at our 6th through 12th grade and we see our kids transitioning from class to class, sometimes that becomes a little bit more difficult, but that doesn't mean that we don't produce that for you. And so my parents in 6th through 12, if you're missing out on that and you're not getting daily or weekly, or you haven't signed up for that daily or weekly communication from Google Classroom, please make sure you do. Check your spam if that invitation went there. If you don't have it, reach out to your child's teacher, because we want you to, again, have a better understanding of the rigor and the depth of what's going on in the classroom. So for my upper school parents, check your spam. If you don't have it, reach out to the teachers and we will re-invite you to the Google Classroom so you can see what's going on either daily or weekly, because sometimes daily becomes a bit much, weekly with your child. One of the other pieces that I want you to focus on and not miss is the weekly communication that's been coming out as of the past 3-4 weeks from Dr. Dennis. It is chock full of amazing information, because sometimes we get information just on the classes that our kids are in, but I know what you're asking for is I want to see the full picture as well. I want to know my child is in 6th grade, but I also want to know what's happening in a 9th grade class. I want to know what they're doing for their project in economics in 12th grade. And that's information that we are sharing with you on a weekly basis. So if you have been missing that, please make sure when you see that email comes out from Dr. Dennis and it says curriculum, that is full of information and depth for you as a parent. So definitely don't miss that. And we continue our monthly principals newsletter that happens from Ms. Vigna as well as Dr. Dennis. So if those are pieces of information that you haven't been looking at, definitely take some time next time you see something come home with us more from either one of them, from myself, from the Head of School Monthly newsletter. Take some time to dive into it, because what we want to share with you is just the amazing thing that's happening on campus. Just from a leadership perspective, you shared with us that you needed that. And walking away, you can see from that Wordle that our cognitive review team definitely saw that that was happening. And there's a lot of data that we looked at. Data included our survey data. We looked at our standards for each class. We looked at future planning. We looked at our LEAP framework, which I talked about before. You know, these are all evidence to see what is happening in the classroom and where we need to continue to grow and evolve. So that's just feedback on that piece. In terms of the learning capacity, one of the things that we walked away from with this was 2 things: areas that were strengths and areas for continuous growth. And the area of the strength portion of this was going back to some amazing philosophy in terms of our learning outcomes, the standards that we have for each of our content areas, looking at the project-based learning, the personalized learning, and all those ecosystems that are in place for our students. One of the areas for growth for us, and we identified that before we even launched into our Cognia review, and was that how do we continuously utilize the data? And so that's a piece for us that we recognize that we have data. And now as we continue to grow, really looking at how we use that data and how we continue to personalize the learning for the kids that are in our classroom for your children. And so there's a piece coming up, if we haven't touched base, where that we need that engagement and connection, because again, we can go over an endless amount of information, but it really has to connect to your child and your child's needs. And so that's actually part of what we've been working on. So I'll talk about that in a second. And when we talk about the resources that are in place, okay, those resources, what is it aligned to our purpose and our direction? And so one of the lines that cross from leadership to learning to resources is professional development. And as we looked at ourselves in past years, and we look at ourselves as we continue to grow, we knew that that was an area that had to be enhanced, and we needed the resources and we needed the support of our education team. And it's wonderful to say that we are, arm in arm, lockstep as we move forward, not only in looking at the new curriculum and providing professional development and resources, pacing guides, curriculum maps, something that's really brand new for our teachers and so amazing to have that foundation and direction for them. But it is an area that we are continuing to grow in. And before we even had our Cognia reviewers come in, we knew from past years that that was an area of growth. And to now be able to not only have in-house professional developments, but to have practices in place that put our teachers in leadership positions where they are receiving monthly trainings that they're bringing back to the entire team, as well as having on the ground professionals from our education team with us, is truly remarkable. And I hope, you stay on, we can talk about it more, drop it on a Tuesday call, so we can talk about the nitty gritty of what that looks like. And I could share with you month by month of what we're exploring and the key components in our classrooms. Now, the place where we started was with our mission statement. And as I said to my team earlier, it's where we continue to grow. So coming second semester, be on the lookout for information that's going to be specific to each campus on how this rolls out for us as we continue in second semester and for next year. How those core pieces, academic excellence is not new to Sagemont, but what we want to be very intentional about is looking at the pieces that we add in for our kids and naming it. So we have always known that entrepreneurship, if you've been at our upper school campus, it's a piece that has been very successful for us for years. And now we want to be a little bit more mindful and intentional about stretching that across the board, where it is a piece that is ingrained in every subject area, as well as having its own standalone pieces and deliverables. Again, which you're going to see more information come out on. In addition to that, social responsibility and being active agents of change. We really are an institution that values our kids' voice, having choice in what they do, and we want them to be active in their learning. So we don't want bystanders in our classroom. So when we ask our kids and we post questions and they come home and they say, oh my gosh, I can't Google this, fantastic. That is what we live for. We want them to be critical thinkers, but we want them to be really active in their learning and being responsible agents of change in everything that they're doing. And so now, to go back to our core pieces, I could sit here, I could go over what our cognitive reviewers say, I could share the wonderful wordle that sums up everything that they think about Sagemont, and I could share our growth and areas that we will continue to evolve in. But the most important piece of this is your child and understanding what their needs are, where their strengths are, and how we can continue to support them. And so I started this. I know several of our leaders have already started this, where we say it is time to meet. We want to sit down with you one-on-one. So if you keep getting those wonderful emails from us and you keep getting the reminder, hey, we haven't met yet, please know it is because we want to sit down with you. We want to sit down with your kids and understand what Sagemont looks like for them as they continue to grow with us and how we're going to support them. And that really is done on a personalized basis. And that is who Sagemont is and who will continue to be, being very intentional about what our mission is and how we streamline that across the board for all of you and all of your kids. So one thing that is coming up, I always have my families that will say, I wish I knew sooner. So we are letting you know sooner than later of what is coming up. And now I say ready, set, go, re-enrollment is here. But again, when we go back to that time to meet ties into re-enrollment. That ties into your child's future with us at Sagemont for second semester and for next year. Our re-enrollment period will start January 10th and it will span till January 24th. And what does that period of time mean? That is the time that we get you into that priority enrollment phase. And that means for you that one of the things before I even go on, one of the things that families have shared, again, your voice being very, very important to us and listening, is that sometimes it was very difficult. You know, when we got to that re-enrollment period, because that re-enrollment fee was significant. It was hefty for families. And we listened. We really had to take a look at that. And we want this to be a process for you where it is seamless, where it doesn't cause strain. And so as we move forward, we are happy to say that that re-enrollment fee will no longer be $1,500 and will be $500. And we thank you for always voicing your thoughts to us so we can keep growing and acknowledging what you need for that time period to happen for you to re-enroll your child. So we look forward to our journey together. We look forward to evolving together. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to stick around. If you have questions, please let me know and we'll answer it. With that being said, we also started by saying it is our 25th anniversary, and I'm so happy, and our team's so happy to celebrate. And so our homecoming kickoff, we had the mayor out at Sagemont because hand in hand with Weston, we are together celebrating 25 years. And so it was nice to have the mayor out just to kick off that journey for us. And we have a few things coming up. February 4th, we're inviting you to come out. We are going to name the gym. So it's just been known as our Sagemont Athletic Center. And February 4th, we will be naming the gym in honor of our founders of Sagemont, the Goldman family. And for many of you who have been around with us for many, many years, I know you would absolutely want to and love to come celebrate. They have brought us on this journey, and they continue to be involved with Sagemont, and we also want to celebrate and honor all that they have done over the years. And our April 9th, we also have to have some fun together. So April 9th, we will be having a night in the tropics and celebrating at the upper school campus. And that's going to be a wonderful evening. And if you hear that dog barking, that is my 150-pound dog outside. So April 9th will be a wonderful time to celebrate and celebrating the arts, our visual and performing arts from our lower school campus, as well as our upper school campus. So you'll be getting a lot more information about this. So, as we continue to evolve, as we continue to grow in terms of academic excellence and rigor, throughout from preschool through 12th grade, we also want to take those moments to celebrate that success, to keep improving, and also to celebrate with you, because this cannot happen without you. It cannot happen without all of your kids. So I am going to stop sharing now so I can actually see the faces. Jimena, I saw that face go up. I turned on the camera and I saw like, oh goodness, I'm on camera right now. So we will go ahead. I will look in the chat and see what we have here. Ms. Caceres, if you can help me as we go through the chat, if I miss anything. And then if we have question where our campus leaders will chime in. So here's a question. I think this is, are all the Google Classrooms for the upper grades? And so, Anna, when you're talking about upper grades, are you, because I know you're in the little bitty early childhood down there, are you meaning for 4th and 5th grade? How are you, Ms. Bassoni? Are you talking about our upper school campus?
Yeah, no, I was wondering if first grade, I know Sophia and Kaya don't have it, but can you imagine them so cute with the unicorn? I was wondering if first graders, because our first graders, my first grader is not using it, but if it's based on the teacher's needs and she's not using it, then it's a non-issue. I just want to make sure in case I was missing something and then then there's a little bit of, then he's going to be falling behind, right? Just to make sure. Because yeah, I think the other.
Ms. Vigna and Ms. Caceres will answer that. And then just in general for our upper school and lower school, one of the things that we will be transitioning to next year will be Schoology, similar to Google Classroom, but there will be a transition. So nothing for you to think about, but I just wanted to answer that question in terms of Google Classroom. But Ms. Vigna, Ms. Caceres?
I'll take it. Hi, everyone. So we're in a new year. We're in 2021, 2022 school year. So it's a little bit different than last year because Google Classroom at the elementary level was heavily used last year as we were in a hybrid situation, which meant that we had students in front of us and also at home. So last year it was relied on heavily. And now this year, since we're all back to face-to-face, everyone in K through 5 does have access and has all the students in Google Classroom. However, it's really mostly being used by the upper grades, like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd are more focused on doing things back again with pencils. So we're kind of like reverted back to doing more of that. In only because we're going to move to Schoology anyhow. Will we have access to Google Classroom? We may. However, right now it's not the priority in the classroom, so it's not necessarily being used as the main instructional housing piece for our curriculum. However, the students do participate in assemblies through Google Meet and through Google Classroom, so that is still being utilized as well. So it's just used less at the lower level. Dr. Dennis or Mr. Rowe, you want to talk about how it's used in 6 through 12 right now?
You're a little low, Dr. Dennis. Still low.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I just to make sure I have it right, the question was, how is Google Classroom used in 6 through 12? Okay, so Google Classroom is our management system for each class. It's where they are able to turn in their work and get feedback back and forth and create dialogue with the teacher. So anytime they turn in an assignment, think of it like when we went to school, it would be a notebook or a folder that we would have for a class. This is where they would store all their work that would be there, and then where they would turn it in, and where they used to mark on the paper. the teacher would now leave comments on the paper, but it allows them to talk back and forth with each other without having to wait for the next day to see each other. So I could leave a quick comment or feedback there on progress. It also shows due dates of things that are upcoming or if they're past due. And then all of you should have received an email at the start of the year to get your Google Classroom alerts, where you can choose daily or weekly updates that send emails you out a report about each class, letting you know if your child has any missing work or the grade that they received on that work. Now, as for actual grades, it is not the final grade book. Plus Portal is the official grade for the grade book. But so it's more of a management system of holding everything. They will track grades in there, but the final grade and the points are kept in Plus Portals.
And fun fact, when you complete your health questionnaire each morning, for good or bad, some parents are like, oh, I see the grades. It automatically takes you right into the grades as well too. So it's an automatic pop-up there for our parents, which sometimes my child goes, whew. Any additional questions? So one of the things, as I mentioned before, that I want you, if you have not had a chance to see the amazing things going out, what's being done in the classroom through the newsletters, whether that's coming from the teachers or that's coming from the campus leaders or myself, please make sure you're keeping up with that because that's where you're going to definitely have a big picture, not just from your child's classroom, but overall what's happening across the campus. And one of the things that you will see as we continue to go through, especially for the head of school newsletter, as I've been doing, we've kind of focused on social responsibility, entrepreneurship. You'll see a lot of that coming and how that unfolds at Sagemont on a regular basis and examples of how that's happening currently and the direction of what you'll be seeing for the upcoming school year as well as second semester. Any additional questions? One thing I do want to say is thank you so much. This is such an amazing community to be connected to be a part of, and to have individuals come in and see that immediately, and to see a school that is evolving and growing is really remarkable for us. And so we thank you. We appreciate you being on this wonderful journey with us. And definitely check your emails because I don't want anyone to miss out on an opportunity. When we send out those emails to say, let's meet, let's sit down together, we really want to. We really mean that. That's part of who we are. Jimena, you had a question? You're still on mute.
Yes, it's not more a question, it's kind of more like a comment. I love what all you're doing, and I love the events of the family and the fundraising and all that stuff. I know that we always need that. I would like to see more of advertising of Sagemont, in, like Western Magazine and all that stuff, because I know we need our community to join. And that will be like my little comment over here, like more advertising, more like outreach, so we can get more good families in to our school.
And thank you for loving our school, and thank you for sharing that. And Mr. Rowe, was that our conversation this week? Absolutely, yes. That was our conversation. Mr. Rowe and I are working on an article together right now. So we've been reaching out and engaging a little in two different ways. I'll talk about that. Locally, we are getting a better hold of what we need to do locally, and there's been a continuous communication with our spring marketing team. I actually had a meeting with them, the head of marketing, last Friday. And I don't know, I'll share this, everyone will know now. My whole team doesn't know that yet, but we have a planning meeting coming up in January because that is a piece that I agree with you. I agree with you, Jimena, needs to be improved upon, increased. And so, yeah, that's happening. So thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. And we know that it's a growth area and we are moving forward with that piece. Absolutely. Oh, thank you for putting in that plug, Ms. Caceres. Very soon, go to the Starbucks in Weston. Our kids from the lower school campus, their artwork will be on display, which is pretty cool. So when that happens, believe me, we are going to let you know. So definitely getting our kids' work out there. And then another thing, in terms of getting out there a little bit more, Mr. Rowe, do you want to talk a little bit about January 23rd? Because I know you're confirming some details of getting our kids out in the community.
Yeah, so January, we got a bunch of little upcoming events that take place. On the 23rd is Weston Celebrate the Arts. It's the annual thing that takes place in Weston Town Center. And each year Sagemont participates in it. This year we're extending it a little more where the lower school campus is going to participate as well. So previously it was just the upper school campus and our music department and fine arts department and performing arts department that would show up and have a 25-minute segment where we would perform and then run little stations of arts and crafts. This year, the lower school campus will be performing as well. And we'll have our standard arts and crafts and theater out there. So Sunday, January 23rd, Weston Celebrate the Arts in Weston Town Center. We'd love to have you come out and support our students as they perform. Also, now that we have the lower school campus on, our next upcoming games, you've done such a great job of showing up to our games. And packing out our stands. I hope that you've enjoyed them. Our next upcoming games when we come back are the 4th, which is a Tuesday, and the 7th is actually 5th grade moving up night, where we're inviting our 5th graders to come up and be recognized as they get ready to transition to our campus up here. So we're excited. And we will have performances from the lower school campus at our game that day as well. So please, if you're able to attend that night against North Broward Prep, 7 p.m., we'd love to have you.
Thank you. And in terms of that community and connection, I will just go a little bit further and say one of the pieces that we've talked about the arts getting out in the community, but we also have been doing a remarkable job, especially this year. And I have to give credit to Dr. Dennis, Ms. Vigna, Mr. Rowe, and Ms. Caceres for connecting our campuses and our teachers of getting into each other's classroom, because that's how we develop on our practice. And we also share best practices. So they've been doing a lot with that. So if you've seen our upper school teachers at the lower and vice versa, please know it is very intentional because as we look into transitioning our kids, especially from the 5th to 6th, 8th to 9th, we want to make sure that we fully understand what's happening on each campus and how to build upon it and to ensure that the alignment is there. So those are very intentional pieces that we've been building upon.
Ms. Nelson, there's a comment on the chat to say the date again for the moving up for 5th grade.
Mr. Rowe?
January 7th at 7 p.m.
And thank you.
Friday, January 7th at 7 p.m.
And we are, and you know, the one thing that I definitely saw this when I saw 60 of our parents in the gym last week, and it was our upper school and lower school parents for both campuses, and it was amazing because we are one community. So I look at it when, you know, Nia started in preschool and she's in 6th grade now. And it's just, she knows her school. This is her community. Dr. Dennis has had 2 kids graduate and the last one is there coming along in high school. And it really is a community. It is a family. And that was something that was so evident for our outside bodies coming in. So thank you for being a part of this amazing community, evolving with us, growing with us, and continue to read our newsletter to see what's coming next for Sagemont, because it's pretty amazing. I'm a part of something amazing, and I thank you all for being on this wonderful ride and journey. And go ahead, Miss Dorothy. Rose, I see a hand there.
No,
Or maybe by
applause,
accident.
applause.
Oh, applause. We'll take the applause too. We love applause. So we'll bow. Thank you, thank you, thank you to my wonderful team. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, continue to read all the communication coming out, because it's so vital to know what we're doing here, what your kids are doing on a day in, day out basis. And stay tuned for second semester to hear more from your campus leaders as we continue to evolve and grow. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I'll talk to you all later.